In Detroit, union leaders are looking to Uncle Sam for a $100 million bailout to help pay their pensions. They want to pull a switcheroo, tapping federal funds earmarked for homeowner assistance. The state of Michigan would give the cash to the city, funneling money from a U.S. Treasury fund created to help struggling homeowners. Tony Sayegh is a Fox News contributor. Bernard Whitman is a former Bill Clinton pollster and Democratic strategist. All right, the dreaded B word in this whole thing, Tony, is a bailout. So now are we going to see $100 million earmarked for blighted housing in Detroit go to pay for these pensions, keeping in mind that Detroit is bankrupt right now?
Well, they're bankrupt largely, Gretchen, because of pensions that are unsustainable. I mean, the report that's come out on Detroit itself has $18 billion of long-term unsustainable debt costs that are driving the city into total bankruptcy. And not fixing the problem is part of the problem. And this bailout goes to do nothing other than put a Band-Aid on it, taking it away from people in need. This is not one of those global bailouts that we always hear about, the federal government doling out some money to a political power group like a union. This is taking it away from homeowners, the most hardly hit by the housing crisis in a city like Detroit that we know has been a poster child for the housing crisis, without solving a thing and giving it to unions who are powerful.
It's a play to the unions, right,
yes.
Bernard? This is a political play to the unions.
Well, here it is. It's a terrible idea. I don't think it's going to happen. Why? Because I think it would set an awful precedent. You know, there's cities and municipalities all across the country that are facing this exact same problem, not as bad right now as Detroit, but all over the place. And I think to take money that is earmarked for housing and to fill it in for the stopgap measure would be a very bad idea. I mean, it's going to take shared sacrifice across the entire country.
Why are the unions not sacrificing? Because, by the way, they profited from many of these contracts and many of these pensions, and people pay dues into unions. So why are the unions not kicking in?
That's exactly right, Gretchen. That's the point that a lot of Republicans in Michigan who are supporting a relief package to Detroit to the tune of $816 million are saying, look, we're already putting in $350 million in state aid. We're getting additional monies from foundations and grants and others, bringing it up to $800 million. At least put in, as the unions making billions in dues, the $100 million you want for these platinum pension plans.
I don't think the union is making billions in dues. What's going to be required is many of the unions have actually already suffered. They've accepted no cost of living increases and other cuts in benefits, and they need to do that. Unfortunately, the police and fire unions in the city have not, and I understand they risk their lives, and I respect them a great deal, but it's going to require shared sacrifice. These fire unions, the police unions are going to have to accept limitations on their benefits, or the whole system is going to collapse.
Since you don't think this is a good idea, and since I think you agree that this could set a horrible precedent for other cities that are currently strapped for cash, and upset Americans who think that their tax dollars are going to this instead of what they're supposed to be going to, would you also agree that the unions had something to do with getting Detroit into the situation that they're currently in?
I think this was a conspiracy of unions and city government that basically just kicked the can down the road. And now it's not that the unions as a structure, but those who are participating are going to have to accept short-term cuts in order to solve a long-term problem. It's just going to have to happen.
That's right, but they're not. And it's not all the union members. It's really, frankly, the leadership of these unions that are failing to make the reasonable concessions, paying into these systems, just like everybody else. You mentioned the non-police and fire union employees. They're getting wage freezes. They're getting cost of living cuts and significant levels.
It's going to be fascinating.
Not the police and fire.
It's going to be fascinating to see if this goes through. There's going to be a lot of upset people, and it's going to set a huge precedent. Guys, I got to run. Thank you.